circling like vultures round my brain. Couldn't see the danger in your eyes. Draw me in, got me spinning now like water to a drain. You were perfect till I realized you hadn't shown your face. You sing a pretty song to drag my heart along, a siren serenade. You're ringing out your praise. Your lungs are wrecking, you know it's wrong. I was deaf to the ringing bells, wanting me to break, deafened by the sirens' soothing lies. I can't leave, I am in too deep, been sinking for a while, prisoner to the same thing I despise, devoted to a fake. You sing a pretty song to drag my heart along, a siren serenade. You're ringing out your praise. Your lungs are wrecking, you know it's wrong. It's over, same story. You lose to love and glory. It's over, same story. You lose to love and glory. You sing a pretty song to drag my heart along, a siren serenade. You're ringing out your praise. Your lungs are wrecking, you know it's wrong. It's over, same story. You lose to love and glory. It's over, same story. You lose to love and glory.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Midweek Mix-Up Podcast. Episode 106, I do believe it is now. Jesus wept. That's
Yes.
fast. Hope everybody is doing well, of course, and welcome to another episode of the Midweek Mix-Up. We are expecting Mick to join us as well shortly, whenever he gets here, so we'll drop him in as soon as he's in. But I welcome everybody to the latest episode of Midweek Mix-Up. I hope you're enjoying your gaming week so far, and work week is going okay. But before we get into any of the topics today, of course, we're going to be discussing Hogwarts and our thoughts on Hogwarts Legacy. Maybe there's even a little bit of a minor controversy behind it, but not too much because I don't want to get into that. But maybe some of the community backlash from it anyway. But mainly just the fun side of it. We'll concentrate on that. And of course, picking up on the rest of the week's news. And we will pick up on the initial findings of the CMA Despite us not wanting to really discuss that too in depth, we'll kind of cover it on the basics as well as other gaming news this week. But before we do, let's get into our introductions. First and foremost, Boxenberger, how are you doing today, sir? What you been up to?
Hey, how you doing, man? Doing good. Little exhausted from work. I can't say anything else because I just came home after almost 13 hours of work. So I'm a little exhausted, and I was also a little tempted, to be honest, to just stay on the couch and play some Hogwarts. But then I figured, hey, I haven't spoken to my mates here in like 2 weeks now, because last week we didn't have a midweek mix-up, and I wouldn't miss it this week. So yeah, man, it's gonna be a fun show, and I can't wait to discuss everything. So yeah.
Awesome stuff. Next up, the General C. How are you doing today, sir? What you been up to? And dare I ask, what you've been playing?
Yeah, not too bad. Took a trip to New Zealand to play Hogwarts Legacy super early. Got back in good time as well. I've been playing a hell of a lot of Hogwarts Legacy and Hunt Showdown. It's my 2 games of the week.
Awesome stuff. Next up, Patcher, Mr. Headache today. How are you doing today, sir? What you been up to?
Yeah, man. Well, as I guys told you, a little bit of a headache, but a few good further. So and yeah, like Jen says, playing Hogwarts Legacy, man. I was as you guys saw, I was the lucky winner. Won the game to a giveaway on Twitter, so that's pretty awesome, of course.
Especially good when stuff. I didn't know. Congrats, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Pat wins everything. We should just give all the giveaways to Pat.
I don't know. I do quite well as well.
I've not won a single thing apart from the one thing that you was giving away, Mick, for Sea of Thieves, the Xbox. I can't remember what it's called.
But you've been jumping into good old Hogwarts then.
Yes,
that's been your
definitely.
Game of the week. Anything else, or is that it?
Yeah.
So far?
No, so far played that actually. A little bit of Call of Duty, but not that much. So, but yeah, like I said, Hogwarts Legacy at the moment, like everybody.
Yeah.
Most of the people.
Maybe he's not one person. Mick, what you been up to? What you been playing?
Literally, I've literally started it today.
Awesome.
Oh, I've got an echo. Hang on. Yeah, I've literally started it today. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying it, but I've been tanning Sea of Thieves. I've managed to get both of the curses from the 2 different factions now, and I am fed up of it. I am having a break.
Congrats on the 500,000 gamer score, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my last achievement on Sea of Thieves yesterday got me to just over 500,000. So it was a nice milestone and
nice
fitting for the games I play. So it's nice to get Sea of Thieves to get me to that point. So yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Great, man.
But we're going to be dipping into, obviously one of the big topics this week is talking about Hogwarts Legacy. Now, of course, the vast majority of us were super excited to get into it and get playing it and seeing just how good it was, and whether or not it kind of lived up to our hopes and anticipations for the game. And then, of course, we saw the reviews starting to drop, and the reviews were ultra positive about it. And of course, we eventually got it. Now, of course, I was thankfully gifted it by Mr. Boomstick. Now, of course, I did a little bit of work for Boom. Refused money from Boom for the work because, of course, he's a friend. But then he gifted it just after my co-host on World of Gaming also was offering the exact same pleasure as well. So I have to say massive thank you to both Boxy and Boom for the offer of Hogwarts Legacy. this month. So, but Boom jumped in anyway on the back end and and said it. You're muted, by the way.
You're
Boxy.
muted.
Oh, yeah. I'm very sorry. I wasn't able to like figure out how to gift you a game that isn't out yet on Xbox,
no,
and
it's
so
weird.
Boom was a little, Boom was simply faster by wiring you the money for it, while I was still trying to figure out how to gift a game that hasn't released yet. So, but man, I'm happy you got the game. So that's what's counting.
I would like to take this point. If Aaron Greenberg is watching this, I have left enough feedback about this. Please, can we have the ability to gift pre-orders? Why not? Why not?
I wasn't aware that this is not possible. Honestly, I wasn't aware that this isn't possible. I thought very easy, man. I just gift it to Dutch, and then we're done. But not possible.
Only games that are out, you can't do pre-orders, and I've had this trouble for years because a lot of my kids have wanted games, and because we can only share on 2 accounts, and I've got 4 kids. It's like I can't do it to everyone. I can't buy myself it, and it be working on others. So I have to occasionally, if there's a game they want, I have to buy it and just give them the money to buy it and pre-order it. But it would be so much easier if we could just go and click and buy, or I have to wait until it releases, and then you lose out on those pre-order bonuses on something that you actually wanted to pre-order. So please give us that option. Come on, Xbox.
Completely agree.
Definitely.
But but major thank you to both Boxy and Boom for both the offer and the attempt. As well as, of course, the donation to the game. That's much appreciated, of course. I will in months going forward be doing the same for our community, and of course we try to do it for each other when we can. Obviously, if we're struggling or want a game or things like that, we tend to try and help each other out where we can. And of course, fingers crossed, more people in the community, of course, either win the game or get the game as well that can't afford it. That would be absolutely awesome. So, but we're going to jump into our impressions of the game as well. So we've got everybody ranging from maybe the first hour of it all the way up to multiple hours, like the Jen, who's just like diving into exploration, and then myself, who seems to have somehow got yourself a little bit further forward in the story than Jen, even though Jen's been playing more of it. I don't know how that's happened.
Yeah, I've just been lost in exploration. That's been me. And every 2 seconds, I need to pet every single cat I come across in the game.
I do exactly the same thing. It's not just me then.
I'm sure at least 3 of my hours in that game have been petting the cats.
Yeah, 100%. But it's exceeding expectations so far for me. I think the one thing everybody's kind of identified immediately, especially the way you start, of course, which is inside of Hogwarts, is just the level of detail they've put into Hogwarts itself and everything around it, and every painting moves. It's got the amount of graphical options you have on consoles as well is kind of up there with some of the best options you've got. So you've got fidelity and ray tracing and performance. Then you've got chromatic aberration. You've got motion blur.
Film grain.
Yeah, which you can all alter and turn off and turn on to your heart's content. You can have uncapped frame rates for performance mode, which takes it above 60 frames if you want. So yeah, it's really great work actually. And to be honest, outside of the only one I noticed performance issues was the fidelity plus ray tracing on Series X. I noticed the performance wasn't that great. It felt a bit sluggish. It did jump from time to time, so I turned off the fidelity ray tracing, went back onto performance mode. On Series S, I've just kept it in fidelity. It's fine. But on Series X, I've kept it on performance mode. It just runs super smooth. And you don't really know. I don't know whether it's just me, but I don't notice too much difference between fidelity and performance in terms of the level of detail. I don't know if it's just me, but I haven't really noticed.
No, the level of detail is the same, but you can definitely see the drop in resolution.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I say, it was just me. I was like, it doesn't look too much different. Like,
but isn't
the problem with the game is, or it's not a problem, but the thing is, you can't just switch back and forth in between the modes. You always have to reboot the game. So it's really hard to compare just by memory. And then, of course, a lot of things are only visible in certain in certain areas. So when you want to see what ray tracing does and you are outside in Hogsmeade or something, you won't notice it. But you will notice it definitely when you're in the main entry hall in Hogwarts. So it really depends on where you compare things. And since you can't switch back and forth real quick, it makes things harder for people to compare. Yeah,
I think it's also a good thing, to be honest, because if you can't if it's by memory, and again it is purely by memory that you have to visually compare them, and if me, for instance, is going onto fidelity mode and then changing it to performance mode, and when I've changed it and it's rebooted it and I've went back onto it and it doesn't look that different, but it performs significantly better, I'm like, it's like an easy option there. That's again, shout out to the work from Avalanche as well, getting this done, because it's super pretty game, a lot of detail.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm gonna get.
And
I'm
the
gonna
PC port, I've heard really good things about too.
What was that? Sorry.
The PC port, I've heard really good things about as well.
Yeah.
I watched. Oh no, it's Alex. His review on the PC port, and he was saying a lot of good things about it. There was a few minor things, but that's all to do with a lot of the DMR implementation of the game that sort of affects some of the optimization and some of the stuttering issues with the graphics. But he said it wasn't too bad. It's one of the better ones with that DMR system that they use.
Yeah, it's the
DRM. I mean,
the strangest thing on the DRM front is it isn't Steam's DRM that's doing it; it's Sony's DRM. So when you've got their DRM system that they use on console, that they've ported over and used the DRM system on both Steam now, because their games are on Steam. So basically, you've got two lots of DRM. So you've got Steam's DRM and Sony's DRM both at the same time on Steam now, which causes performance issues, and we've seen it across multiple new big releases on PC, whether it be Dead Space, whether it be Callisto, whether it be Hogwarts. It's caused quite an issue with the performance there, and it is literally just the Sony version of DRM, which is ridiculous. And you can't get rid of it. It's it's a nightmare, but it is what it is. Like you say, performance is great, and I've seen Steel as well. Steel Rain, of course, from Living Split Screen. He's been playing it on PC, as he does. He's PCMR. He's been playing it there, and he's got it kind of maxed out. I think he said 1080p or something like that, but he likes everything like ultra 1080p, all ray tracing settings full to the max and everything like that. And he said it's silky smooth. No issues whatsoever, looks gorgeous. So yeah, PC port's also flawless. But let's get our thoughts on the actual game itself and not just the performance.
Yes.
Boxy, you've obviously had a chance to jump into it now. You've been playing it for quite a little while now as well, just like myself and Jen. But what's your overall thoughts thus far on what the team at Avalanche have managed to do with Hogwarts Legacy?
So yeah, you already mentioned a lot of things. It's fantastic. There's so much I want to praise in the game. I would say I'm still fairly early in the game. From what I got in the green room before the show, I think you guys are a little further along. But yeah, I'm like level, I want to say 7 or 8 now. So I'm like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours into the game, something like that. But I'm really taking my time. I spent like, I want to say probably an hour trying out the different graphic modes. So I recorded a couple of clips in every mode and I compared it, and because that lets you switch easy in between like the performance mode. So I recorded a couple of clips in every mode. I do that on PC games as well. Like I spent hours figuring out the perfect settings to optimize performance against visual quality. And I love that this game lets you do that on consoles. We don't have that too often. Yeah, we have like, usually you can switch in between two modes. And then if you're lucky, you can adjust the HDR settings and that's it. But this game, no. Like you said, you have chromatic aberration, motion blur, film grain, all that depth of field and everything. You can really play around and figure out the right settings. So, first of all, my findings for everyone, doesn't matter which mode you play on, turn off chromatic aberration and turn off film grain.
Like my first step in every game ever. I don't know why they include any
Me
of those
too.
things.
Motion blur has to go off immediately.
Because people are so used to have those. Both of these effects are basically like errors that regular cameras have. So when chromatic aberration, for instance, gives you on like white edges in an image, like this blue glow around a white edge, that's chromatic aberration. That's simply because I'm a little
he's going into depth, guys. Strap in.
Yeah, no. My students at the university always tell me that. But hey, listen. The thing is, you have like in a real lens in a camera, you have the fact that blue, white, and green colors have a different focal length, and that results in chromatic aberration at the end. So what they try to do in video games is to simulate this, because we are so used to see every movie has chromatic aberration. Yeah, so every picture you take with your camera or whatever has chromatic aberration. So we are so used to look at this very unnatural thing that is chromatic aberration. Yeah, because you don't have it in reality. Yeah, if you look with your eyes, you don't have chromatic aberration, but you have it if you take a picture or with a camera. So, and that's why video games try to simulate that, because we are so used to it. But at the end, what it does is it makes the image look blurry. So, and the same goes for film grain. Yeah. So these kind of filmic effects, they not only cost a lot of overhead on your GPU, because you have to artificially introduce that. The game doesn't even render chromatic aberration. It takes up extra resources and it makes the image look worse. So turn that shit off. The awesome thing is, the game also lets you like uncap the frame rates, which I really cannot say if I can remember a console game that lets you do that. I mean, there are certain games that have uncapped frame rates, The Witcher 3, for instance, but you don't have the option to cap or uncap the frame rate. So Hogwarts lets you choose to do that. So for instance, if you play in fidelity mode, you have like 30 FPS locked, or you uncap it. And so in certain areas, you can go above the 30 FPS. And of course, if you turn that shit that is called film grain and chromatic aberration and motion blur off, you get extra GPU resources, and that increases your frame rates on consoles. So that's why I found that the balanced mode is awesome, because the balanced mode runs the game actually at 40 FPS, which is cool for people who have like a VRR screen. You have to have these 120 hertz, not 100 VRR, but you have to have 120 hertz. So you can run the game at 40. Now, if you have you remove motion blur and you remove chromatic aberration, all that shit, it gives you so much extra headroom in your GPU that your game suddenly runs in the mid 40s to 50s. And then if you have VRR on your screen, it feels like 60. And that's like the best way to play the game that I have found, yeah? So if you uncap the frame rates and then turn off all that filmic shit that gives you, just takes away GPU resources, you have
Doing it now.
like a fantastic
Doing it now
experience.
before I forget.
And Jesus, I want every console game to have these options. I love doing that stuff. So yeah. But yeah, ray tracing, by the way, looks fantastic in the game, but only indoor.
Yeah, in your mirrors.
Yeah, you can't
that's when
really.
it looks great in the mirrors. Like, or even the
Yeah,
floors
in the
on
mirrors,
performance
like
mode look
the
fine.
Yeah. But that's when you really can like tell the ray tracing really does something. But unfortunately, it is too much. It is too much of a performance hit. Yeah. So.
And
but
in this game, I would say
get why
specifically,
people.
I would say in this game specifically, there is little requirement to have ray trace, like very little.
Yeah.
If you pass a mirror, fine, woohoo! But
It's cool.
There's not
I mean,
many.
it does a few nice things. If you like wield your wand indoors, and you have like this marble floor where you have a lot of reflections, and you see like that red glow coming out of your wand, flying over the floor and illuminating the area in red. I mean, that really looks good. You can't argue about that. But is it worth the hit? Because it really barely runs at 30 with ray tracing. So yeah, I've seen a couple of people on Twitter play it in performance mode, which gives you like 60, which is also very good. I understand that, but I feel like the resolution hit you take is it worth it? Is it? Because it is a significant resolution hit. You can really tell, okay, the image just looks a lot more blurry when you are in performance mode. So if you are one of the lucky owners of a VRR screen, like I said, turn on VRR, go to balanced mode, uncap the frame rates and turn off the filmic stuff, and then it's a butter smooth experience. If you don't have a VRR screen, I would play it in performance mode, but I get why people also might lean towards the fidelity mode because the resolution hit is really hard. And then there is a high frame rate mode at 120 awesome frames, which obviously runs butter smooth, but without doing a pixel count properly, I would say it's at 1080p. At some points, it feels even lower. So yeah, not worth it. Not worth the 120. But there's just options for everyone, and I love it. So, but outside of the technical stuff, I could go on for another hour on that. I must say that they actually really captured the magic of this world beautifully. Like, it really feels you're in Hogwarts. The level of detail they put into rebuilding that school, like every painting you walked by or statues and stuff, it's like it just feels amazing. And I was like, okay, if you don't have a story related to the books, can they actually capture the magic? The story is fantastic so far. The professors are really well done. They, even though you don't know any of these professors, yeah, they are like fantastic. They could just come out of the book or movies. It's really good. The gameplay mechanics themselves, it's a full-fledged RPG. Yeah, has everything an RPG has. Like, you have a level system, you have a loot system, you have awesome, and it fits into this world so perfectly because it only makes sense. You start off as the student, yeah, and you learn stuff and you increase your skill levels, and it just makes sense. So yeah, so far it is everything I hoped for, and more. And I was like, Dutch, you have to take this as a compliment that I actually sit here, because I was so tempted to just lay down on the couch and turn on the game because it's really good, man. It's really good.
Yeah, I think we all kind of probably felt that tonight. We're just like, yeah, we've got a podcast to do, but I really want to be playing Hogwarts. But I wanted to rant and rave about how good Hogwarts is as well, though. To be fair, because as you've put it, they've nailed it. I think for everything, and being an RPG works perfectly, like you mentioned, for this type of game because you are a student, you are learning. Like I like the way that you learn your spells as well. It's like going to classes and you learn spells, and then it's like, well, you arrived late and you like joined the school late. So what we're gonna do is have like extra lessons just for you, where you learn extra spells, and then you kind of pick up these spells as side quests, and you kind of don't have to learn them all. You can choose to go and learn them. Some of them are requirements for the game where you can't go further without learning a certain spell, which is fine, of course, because some of them are like you need them. Like Expelliarmus, for instance, I had to learn that one before a quest that I was just about to do last night. And I needed to learn it before I went anywhere. But then I got up to a lovely section that was full of spiders, and there is no arachnophobia mode on this game, guys. So if you've got any fear of spiders, you will. There's a certain dungeon that you will hate because it is literally just full of giant tarantulas all the way through.
Nah, you'll love it.
Nice.
But yeah,
Looking forward to it.
so much fun. And for those of you that aren't bothered about or not keen on having to play a game on a certain difficulty in order to complete it, or any completionists out there, there is zero requirement in any of the achievements or trophies for you to play on a hard difficulty. So if you just want to enjoy the story and have fun, then just stick it on easy or story mode. Or if you want a little bit of a challenge, just stick it on normal. There is no difficulty achievement on this, so you can just enjoy the game and have fun. There is a lot of on the achievements and trophies side, though, is the vast majority are around unlocking everything, or tipping over 8 cows with a flip-flop spell, or
Cow tipping, awesome.
There's a lot of completionist things in the game where you have to do all the spells, unlock all this, unlock all that. So for those who want to find everything in the game, you'll get achievements for it. But on that note, they've done a wonderful job of making the world very mysterious, and you want to explore and you want to see what's around it. And I just find myself wandering around the castle, kind of just doing the spell to kind of find the hidden things all the time. Like, boop, what's around here? Boop, what's around here? And seeing if I can find any of them hidden invisible scrolls that you can unlock.
No.
And I just do that literally every place I go to, and then the spell to bring things to you, obviously seeing all them little pages flying around in the sky and trying to find all them and zapping them in. I've spent a lot of time. I don't think I've spent as much time as Jen doing all these side bits and exploration, etc.
Oh no, that's where the majority of my time's gone so far. That's where you took over in story from me.
Yeah. I think only just though. Like I say, it's only because there was a side quest. Well, there was a main quest that just popped up when I went back to Hogwarts, and it was like, okay, it's a broom lesson time. So I did the broom lesson, and as soon as that unlocked, then I could go to Hogsmeade and buy a broom. So naturally, I did that, and of course, and there's a good one for you as well. This isn't really a story spoiler. This is a side quest. So if you want to improve your broom, because you can buy them all, and they're all pretty much the same, but if you want to improve the one that you've got, you then get side quests to go and do broom races against other students, and that gradually upgrades your broom so it gets faster and more maneuverable and things like that. So that's a side section. So if you want to fly and you want to be really maneuverable, there's a side quest for that. If you just want to be able to fly and you're not really that bothered about how fast it is or anything like that, then you don't have to, which is good. It means you kind of get a choice there whether or not you want to focus that or just do a side quest for it. So much more I can talk about, but I'm going to get into more of my panel members' thoughts first of all. Boxy, aside from the world and the exploration and things like that, how have you found the kind of story so far?
Oh, I was actually quite surprised because it started kind of slow, where you had no idea where this is going or what the actual topic of the story will kind of be. But then a couple of things happen. when you visit Hogsmeade for the first time, and no spoilers here, of course. But then, I was like really surprised by how good it is. It pulls you in, and it is. When you play a game like that in such a universe, you always wonder, man, is a side story to Harry Potter like gonna do it for me or something? Yeah, but honestly, this story lets you forget the books and movies and just pulls you in. Yeah. And builds upon this really well and believable world. So it is a great story so far that that has a right to stand on its own, and it's high quality. It's not like, okay, this is like garbage story for the video game. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Like I say, and you've put it very, very well there, actually, Boxy. It stands up on its own 2 feet aside from the films. And this is why I've always not understood why they wouldn't go forward and create another Hogwarts series. Maybe it's the will going forward now, seeing the success of this game, but a Hogwarts series that doesn't revolve around Harry Potter and Hermione Granger, etc. Like, at the end of the day, it's a school. You could have any villain you wanted to within a wizarding world, essentially. And these students, again, you could see them grow up and there would be different villains, different adventures, things like that would go around. So you could very well go about that thing. But I think the game does a very good job at creating this new villain that you'll see within the kind of opening couple of hours. You see the new main villain. And you know kind of who the major bad guy is. And then, of course, what you gradually see along that is just these henchmen throughout the game, and then bosses that you brought on by the henchmen until you, of course, inevitably near the end would get to that main villain. But ultimately, the story is really interesting. The world is super interesting. I'm really looking forward to diving back into it and seeing what else is kind of coming out of it. Before I get into other panel members' thoughts on it so far as well, quick shout out to Phantosir for being a Valkyrie channel member for 11 months so far. He was going to join us this evening, but unfortunately the little one will not go to sleep, so he's in chat. So he says, shout outs to my midweek mix-up wizards. Sorry I can't make it tonight. Have a great show and I'll catch you all soon. PS, don't have kids. You love it, really. You love it, really, Phantosir. But no, thank you. Thank you for that. And of course, thank you for the continued support. And next up, of course, Mr. Johnny Dark there with a $10 super chat. And he says, hello, Dutch, and hello, all the fantastic panel. What ideas can Playground take from Hogwarts that you would like to see implemented into Fable? That's a good question. Very good question.
That's a fantastic question, because actually...
Fable?
Yeah. It's a fantastic shout out to Joanna Dark, man. It's a fantastic question, because I actually felt for many times like, ooh, this is kind of my Fable. Because like when you walk, for instance, for the first time in Hogsmeade, the art style alone, the way how the houses are created, and with these more or less unrealistic shapes and everything, and every inhabitant doesn't take itself too serious. Like there's humor there. There is like this magical world, and the art style. It feels like a Fable game. It kind of does. I was wondering actually when I played the game. Okay, how would Fable do a lot of these things? How would they handle the loot in 23 or 24 or whenever it will come out? Yeah, how would they create like the hub world, and how would they create like these villages, and how would they create the conversation system and everything? Yeah, so it reminds a lot of that. And honestly, I would love to for them to take over like the combat system, because the combat system is like an evolution of the Fable combat system. It is of course a little bit more refined and everything, but basically it assigns you, like, you have 4 different actions you can do. When you hold down the right trigger, you have 4 actions that is mapped to A, X, Y, and B. So basically like Fable, yeah. And then you have to do like the combos and everything, and you have the cooldowns of everything, and it's just like Fable. So, but then of course it feels significantly more modern, and it feels really good. I was so surprised. I did not expect the combat to feel that good. You have everything that you want, like dodging and rolling, you have the blocks, the parry system, and everything. So, yeah, to the question of Joanna Dark, I would like them to take over the combat system. In terms of the art style, I still hope that they go with the new Fable more towards like Lord of the Rings. I would love that. And we have seen some concept arts that definitely remind the new Fable, or let me think when I think of the new Fable of Lord of the Rings. But other than that, the 2 games are very comparable so far. So there's definitely something there, and yeah, just makes me want to see Fable more.
Definitely. I think it's the fact that they're both whimsical worlds with a lot of mystery and things like that. And Fable was always meant to be this cheeky kind of proper adult humored like fantasy game, essentially like a fantasy action RPG, as it were. And yeah, I think having played this, and of course the question itself now even makes me think, yeah, actually, like, very comparable. And as Boxy mentioned there, with the kind of topsy-turvy houses and buildings and things you've got in Hogsmeade, where kind of everything's kind of all over the place and weird shapes and stuff. I'd love to now see them kind of, even if it's in the same vein as you mentioned with the combat and the world and the exploration, if it's got the same mystery and the same fulfillment of exploration, where you want to see what's around every corner and what can I unlock and what's around here and what's this. If the game stands up even as good as or slightly better than Hogwarts, I think, for the exploration and the mystery, as well as the fun in the combat, like as Boxy mentioned, the combat's phenomenal. As you mentioned, the parry system, I love how that's a force field. Like, the parry isn't just like blocking. The parry's like, whoop, force field. You can just quickly throw it the force field. Or you can dodge and things like that, as you've mentioned. And then you've got different things. You can pull them together. You can do combo attacks, so you can lift them up and then hit them a couple of times and pull them towards you, and then hit them a couple of times and then again push them back again and leviate them again and set them on fire. There's so many things you can do and switch up all the way through. Yeah, it's great. Mick, you're a huge Fable fan as well, and that's the big one you're waiting for. What's your response to that question then?
I would like, and bear in mind, I've only seen a little bit of this game so far, but I do have a son who's been playing it, who I've had to keep reminding him, don't tell me, I want to do it myself. Keep having to remind him, please stop talking about it. I haven't played that bit yet, you know. But from what I've seen of it so far, and then bear in mind, I'm only just sort of wandering around Hogwarts now, going to some of the first lessons. I'm really impressed with the storytelling and the actual way that the characters, the way they're portrayed. It's almost like a film quality acting. It's that good, and we've got to remember that this Avalanche, they made like Disney Infinity and Cars the movie games, and suddenly
Didn't they make Chicken Little as well?
Possibly,
Chicken Little
yeah,
game.
I think they did, yeah, something like that. But that is the caliber of level that they have been working at. And if you'd said to any of us 5 years ago that when they put out Disney Infinity or they put out Chicken Little or whatever, and said these guys are going to be making a Hogwarts game, you'd have been worried, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I think a lot of us, when they announced this, were like, sorry, who's making it? And we had to look. And we were like, oh, well, it looks, luckily, they did a good job of showing off a bit of the gameplay, what it looked like at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So any fears we had were negated by, okay, this is interesting. Little bit worried because they've not really got a track record for this sort of thing. But that trailer looked pretty good. So I think they did a good job at the very beginning showing us what they can do. Just a little clip, and they've delivered to the point where I'd say that this is, like I said, I've only played a little bit so far, but just the way that they're almost like actors, they're almost like real people acting, is that good that you actually could believe they are actors acting. Like in a big budget Harry Potter movie, like Boxy said, this could be like a film. This could be, and like you said, Dutch, it wouldn't surprise me if they go on to do something like this now with some stories from Hogwarts. That'd be great. But I'm really amazed at how well they've done. And if Fable is gonna, if the Fable team were looking at this as a sort of, let's see how they're doing. I hope they do this kind of level of character, building, because it's fantastic. It's really good. And I don't think it's a slightly different tone. It's a bit, like you said, it's a bit more comical Fable. It's a bit more, you always think of Fable, you think of like, the village idiot that's sort of running around chasing chickens, and stuff things like that. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek, old-fashioned English humor, like, that you would have seen on telly in the sort of 70s, 80s, sort of Basil Fawlty kind of, that kind of comedy.
Yeah, wacky and eccentric.
Yes, but that's good, and that is what I hope it's got. But there are moments, even in Fable, where there are people like Teresa and all them with the story and the spire and everything else that's going on that are a bit more serious. And you want that level of character building and storytelling in Fable as well as the funny bits. So that would be what I hope they take from it and, look at and think, yeah, if it's not at that level, you need to up it, because these guys have come from nowhere and they're putting out this.
Yeah, there's definitely a good balance between serious and non-serious in this game.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So yeah, no, that's I have to say I'm very impressed with it from what I've seen. Looking forward to getting into it more. But yeah, impressive, very impressive considering what they've done in the past.
Definitely. Pat, if you could take anything from what you've played so far in Hogwarts, and take it into Fable going forward, what would you like to see them kind of take from this and kind of reference? Should we say use it as I've completely forgotten the word I would use there. Use it as kind of an example or a guide as to what they want to implement into their game. What would you take from Hogwarts and bring into Fable? Pat?
What?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Say again.
What would you take from what you've played in Hogwarts so far? What would you take from that you would think would work really well in Fable? Or what would you like to see them take from this game and bring into Fable?
All right, first of all, excuse me that I'm going to say this, but I never played Fable before, so I have no clue how the game is.
Time
sorry,
Boxy.
There we go. No, but I think if I hear what Boxy and Mick had to say about it, then what can I, like I said, I have never played Fable before. Sorry guys, but that's one thing I need to do first.
Even before you've played Fable, like if you have a look at the things that you're playing Hogwarts now, you know Fable's coming out in the not too distant future, a year or two maybe. From what you've played of Hogwarts so far, like what's the standout thing that you're enjoying the most about it that you would love to see in Fable? Like, is there any specific mechanic? Is there any specific thing in the world that you like the most so far?
I think I'm going with the combat. I do like that. It's really good. So yeah, that's like one. I agree with Boxy as well. I think that's a thing that they like can implement it into the game. That kind of style of combat. And I think the big open world that you can like explore, and because I'm like Jen, I'm also lost in exploring stuff and just walking around, just doing things. And main story will be later, but yeah, I think I do like the combat in Hogwarts. So yeah, that will be a good thing.
Definitely. Jen, what about you? What would you love to see in Fable from this?
See, I'm in a similar boat with Pat. I've played Fable, but I've never completed a Fable game.
Okay, at least you've played it.
I think for me,
What's wrong with these people? Where do you find them?
I have to start recruiting for some new panel members, I think.
Me and Pat will start the We Haven't Played Fable podcast.
Yeah.
You know I'm joking.
But yeah, I think my biggest take with this would be Fable is a massive open world game. It would be the exploration element I would take, because without the exploration element, what have you really got in a large open world game? That's the biggest thing I would take, because I like to be distracted from the main plot of the game. I like to be going for a main mission and then all of a sudden something catches my eye in the distance and I'm like, I want to go and see that before I do anything else. And then I'm at that place and then I catch something else in the distance. And then I'm going over to that, because that's just how my brain works. I have a curious brain and I want to explore as much as I possibly can in a short space of time. So I'm constantly running here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah. To be
why-
honest, Jen, I would agree. I think for me, and this is the thing where I say the worlds are are kind of similar. Obviously, one's wizarding and one's not, but it's called Fable. Like it's meant to be like this whimsical world, this entirely separate whimsical world. Yes, it's set in ye old England, but it's a whimsical world, and I would love to see the kind of mysterious, kind of whimsical, kind of open world that you can explore. That's full of mystery, and lots of kind of things to do and side quests. Like one of the things I loved so far that's quite cool, which they've implemented in this one for puzzle segments, is Merlin's.
Merlin's Trials.
Yes, Merlin's Trials, where you've got to solve his puzzles, and those puzzles, when you unlock them, unlocks either certain areas or they add kind of additional perks to you, be able to carry more gear or things like that. And they're all very inventive as well. They're not just like, oh, just press this button and press this button. It's like use your spells in order to solve the puzzle. So you might have to use one that pulls things towards you. You might have to use things that levitate certain areas. You've got to try and get from point A to point B. And you're like, right, okay, how do I get this boulder from here all the way down to here and put it into that slot there? And it's interesting the way they've done it. It's a new take on puzzle games. It's not just a case of switch this around and pull this around and then eventually they line up like a lot of puzzle games do. This one's kind of having to use your brain and the environment to try and solve the natural puzzle. So I really like that. And I think, as you mentioned, Jen, just the exploration. It's like 9 times out of 10 when people jump into this Hogwarts game, I can guarantee most people will just be walking around, especially the castle's huge. The level of detail they've put into the castle and the amount of rooms you can go into, and the vast majority of the rooms are locked, and yet you're still running around for hours on end. Like, you can get into those rooms later on when you learn how to unlock them and things, but, like, even from the off, the amount of rooms that are open and you can get into is a lot. There's a lot of places to go. There's the dungeon that you can go to.
Tons.
The restricted section of the library, which has another dungeon down below it, and that one goes on forever. And then there's another section of the Hogwarts that takes you to another section altogether that's like miles away from the castle. It's just bonkers how much detail they've got in this game. And as Mick mentioned, from a studio that's done, let's say, very little in AAA gaming, if not nothing in AAA gaming, essentially. They've done a few Disney games and things like that, which are like AA, if not indie. And then going from that to... You're muted, by the way, Mick. Oh.
I'm having to mute the mic because somebody's letting fireworks off right outside the window behind me.
But going from the games that they have created to creating the world that they've created for Hogwarts, you've got it's absolutely phenomenal, But Pat, getting back to the game itself, though, you've put a lot of time into it so far. Much like Jen, you're going off the beaten path and just exploring and just having fun, looking at things. But what's your overall impressions of Hogwarts Legacy so far, then? And were you a big Harry Potter fan before you started, or is this more just you want to kind of be a wizard? You want to be a wizard, Pat?
You're a wizard, Pat.
I'm a wizard. Yeah. No, I've always been a fan of Harry Potter. I've seen the movies multiple times, even in the cinema, as we have the whole collection here. We just recently bought it, like the whole collection. Tamara bought it, so. But yeah, it's, like this game, it's so interesting because you know the story about Harry Potter. And then when you jump into Hogwarts Legacy, you see things, you hear things that you can like connect with Harry Potter, and that's really amazing. That's the thing I really like about this game as well. And the exploration is crazy because I didn't know that this was huge. As soon as you go, you can choose like 2 people where you can like work together with. So I choose Sebastian. And as soon as we walked out of Hogwarts, you go to Hogsmeade, and I was like, "Damn, what? You can like explore outside, and yeah, that's where it all started, and it's crazy. Even with the character customization in the beginning, it took me like 10 minutes before I continued to the story. I was just amazed how it looked and the details in the face and that kind of stuff. It's crazy. It's I'm really amazed by this game. Yeah, it's really good.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, for me as well, it's the one thing that surprised me. And I know we shouldn't be surprised now because, of course, we've got the hardware to do it. But the thing that surprised me and still surprises me is that literally when you're going from point A to point B or throughout any corridor in the castle or going in or out of the castle, there is 0 loading screens. Like, you just open the door and it's the next place, and then you just open the door and it's the next place. Like, there isn't like a transition between going out the castle, going in the castle. There isn't like any loading screens or any kind of fast travel type thing to that you need to do in order to go to Hogsmeade. You can literally walk all the way to Hogsmeade if you want to. Like, it's not like just a case of, we'll hop on a train that's like a video and it takes you there or something like that. Like,
No.
you can just go to Hogsmeade by foot or you can fly there if you want to. Like, everywhere is accessible essentially by walking or running and going through. There's no load screens in between them all. The only time there is kind of a load screen-ish is like when, and even then I don't think there has been. Like, I can't even remember. Like, even when you open like the portals,
I haven't.
even when you open the portals, Pat, as you know, you walk through the portals and it just takes you to the next. There isn't a load screen. It's like there's just the next place.
No.
Like, the portal's opened, you're in the next place. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
You can go
See,
back.
there's one point in this game that bugs me where there is kind of a load screen. The screen goes black, And that's when you go to pet the cats, and I don't understand why that is. But
Yeah.
because it doesn't do a load screen when you're done petting the cat. You just come out.
Intensive
Every time you pet a
CPU
cat,
intensive, you see.
it's a black screen, and I'm like, what? That don't make sense. I only noticed it today, because I streamed a little bit earlier, and I went up to a cat, and I noticed the black screen, and I was like, that's very weird, considering most of the game doesn't have load screens like that. A lot of them are hidden pretty well.
Like I say, specifically for me, it's the fact that you can literally like walk in and out of the castle, and there's no change. Like you can like this huge castle with hundreds of rooms, and there's like 0 load screens in between them, like none.
But you don't have like when you like what I have sometimes is when I walk towards a door, you see this like loading thing. So it takes like 1 or 2 seconds before I can like go through the door. But you see like a small loading thing. It doesn't go like on a loading screen, but you stay where you are. You see a loading thing, and then you can walk through the door like 1 or 2 seconds later. I don't know if you guys had that already, but that's
I've had it a couple
one
of
of the things
times
that I
where
noticed.
it's
But
lasted long, but most of the time I've just been able to walk through doors pretty easy. I think a lot of it
Okay.
is if you're sprinting around fast, you'll notice the
Yeah.
loading more because the game's trying to catch up with itself. But
Yeah,
if you're like
it's
slow,
like
if you
sprinting
slow walk through a
everywhere,
door, it's pretty much seamless.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're sprinting everywhere, it does. Like sometimes you go to a door and you've been sprinting all the way through the castle, and it's like, wait a second, I still need to like, you've like ran through the game here, so give us a second to catch up. But other than that, yeah, there's, like if you're just walking around the place, there's nothing needs to load.
And the fact that you like not only outside you have a lot of things to do, even inside the castle, because that's I think the first hour and a half I spent inside the castle, just walking around, doing the spell that you like see things, you know, like the scrolls that you told and stuff. That's one of the things that I did, like basically from an hour and a half long, just searching around and doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's like you also said before, the detail inside the castle is crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And that makes the game, and I cannot wait to see what's more there, because I seen some streamers, they are they are much further than I am, of course, but it's crazy what you're gonna see and what's gonna happen and stuff. So yeah, looking forward to it.
No, definitely, and of course they've got like, and I haven't got that far yet, but I'm starting to get gear and clothing and things that you can upgrade, and I haven't even got that far yet. I've just started to get the ability to upgrade my character's abilities. So now that I can upgrade kind of range effects or area of damage and things like that for like the fire spell and things like that. So now I'm able to add points to the character, and the character can now upgrade. So I'm at that stage now, but I still haven't got to the stage where I can upgrade the clothing, which you can also upgrade and make yourself even more powerful. But there's just so much to do. Like if you want to go and do like the only thing that we probably wish they had in the game was Quidditch, which they haven't included, but they do have the Quidditch pitch there, and you do go to it. But you go to it to do broom races. So of course you've got broom races to do. You've got the dueling as well. You do if you go to the dueling guys and you fight against other students with the wands and do all the spells and things like that, and then you unlock gear doing that and increase your spells, and you can practice things on the practice dummy with him. There's just so much to do as side quest wise, and it's all very interesting. So it's not like just 1 or 2 things that you can do. There's a lot to explore, a lot of mystery in the game.
And one more thing is that a few days ago, or like I think last week, Jen tweeted out his character that he made with the wizard thing on the website. That actually, if you connect your account to that, and when at the point when you get your wand, it has the exact same things that they gave you inside the making the character on the website. So I had a red boot with a unicorn string or hair or something like that, and 12.25 inches long, you know. And I was like, wait, I remember that. So I went back to the website, and it was exactly what I had there. It's really fun.
Yeah,
Really,
I did that as well.
It also takes into account the house you pick as well. So, like, as soon as you get into the option to pick your house, it's already set up for you to go right into the house that you've picked.
It does still give you the option to change, though.
Yeah, which I do like. Because there's 4 achievements in the game, depending on what house you choose. Like, you have to reach a specific point in the game playing as either a character from Slytherin, Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, or Ravenclaw.
Okay.
See, that's exactly why I don't like achievements. It feels just like so unnecessary.
Yeah, I do wish there was like an option to change your house, like just so you could do that achievement easier rather than have to go through the entire game to get to that point again.
Just play the game. Just play the game. Don't give a fuck about achievements. It's so unnecessary to do stuff like that. It's just
the game's good enough. You'll go back and get the achievements. That's what they're there for.
It's an added bonus.
Yeah, play
the game and enjoy it. But if you enjoyed it that much, you'll go back and get any that you want anyway.
I do hate achievements like that require you to play up to a certain point 4 times. On 4 different playthroughs.
But yeah,
I see why they do it. Like, they want people to replay the game because there are completionists out there that will do that just to get a full gamer score for that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, even saying that, like, I feel like I've done a lot in the game, and my save file's only like I'm on 6 hours or something. So I haven't actually done as much as I thought I had. I thought I'd played loads, but technically, apparently I haven't. So it feels like I've played loads of the game, but I haven't so far. I've played 6 hours. I'm like, Jesus wept. And apparently the game's like 40 hours long, so it's not a small game by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, it's super excited by it so far. Before I get into Jen, because Jen I think's played the most in terms of hours wise that over all of us so far. Mick, you're kind of just at the beginning of the game so far, but what's your early impressions of it so far? Mick,
say again.
What's your early?
I thought I was muted then, so I was trying to reach for the button to unmute it. Go on, say again. Sorry.
What's your early impressions of the game so far then?
Yeah, like I said before, I'm very impressed with everything. To be honest, I haven't come across anything that's made me sort of go, "Oh, that's not great." Everything's just been very. I don't want to ruin the story bit at the beginning, but that first section when you're on the way to Hogwarts, without ruining it for anybody who hasn't played it, it is just crazy and great.
It's phenomenal.
But yeah, I like everything so far. I really am impressed with everything so far. I would like to say I played more, but like I said, I've been trying to get the Sea of Thieves thing done and dusted and out of the way, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. So now I've finished. This is my game now. This is what I was hoping to have it all done before this game hit early access, but I didn't quite manage it. So done now, finished it all off. So yeah, I'll be tanning it from now on. Like I said, I was looking forward to playing it this afternoon, but I realized it was Wednesday. I was like, oh yeah. Yeah,
well, we know what we're going to be doing after this.
Yeah, well, yeah. By the time we finish, though, I was going to say, by the time we finish, I need to get asleep because I've been working in the morning. So
yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Yeah.
So early podcast, yeah.
But yeah, I think make this could be a very good especially in between game when you go in between the likes of a Skyrim to a Starfield. I think this kind of big exploration, mystery, action, adventure game, I think is a perfect substitute in the meantime. I think you'd love it.
Yeah, and I'm like I say, I'm enjoying it. I'm very surprised at some of the graphics. I think I'm only playing it in performance mode. I haven't tried it on the fidelity mode just because I can't be doing with 30 frames anymore. Just not interested. But even on performance, I mean, I'm looking at it thinking, wow, looks good. I did a little puzzle thing which you have to help one of the students with. I was very impressed with, like you said about the side stories. So like the little side missions, they're really interesting as well. They're really sort of like, they're not just like, oh, here's the, you know, on some games you'll get a side quest and it's like, oh, I can't figure this thing out, and you literally walk up to it and just click on it, and it's virtually done for you, and then you go back and go, oh, I did it, and you think, well, you could have done that, you know. But this one actually makes you think, and there's like, I don't want to ruin it too much, but it was a picture on the wall. You have to solve this thing with a picture on the wall, and yeah, it's sort of, you have to sort of go around looking for stuff, and then you come back, and I thought, yeah, this is good. I like this. This is a really nice, like, so far, like the side quests I've done a couple now, a few different bits, and different, each one different. I'm still just blown away that this has come from Avalanche. It's just totally out of nowhere that they've managed to pull this out the bag. Nobody, I think, would have thought that this was a thing from them. Not disrespectfully, just nobody expects that company to have made a game of this scale. So fair play to them, and I hope they get some awards for it, because they definitely deserve it.
I mean, outside of the loud voices for other reasons, primarily J.K. Rowling situation. Outside of that, the game in itself, there has been literally next to zero about the actual game, and not the political part of it. About the actual game itself, how good the combat is, how good the world is, how good the story. There's literally zero negative press around the game itself, like what the game is.
I think one of the arguments I saw was some of those people saying, well, the money ends up going in J.K. Rowling's pocket. She's making money from it in the end. And you think, and somebody's argument was, I see that you're tweeting that from an iPhone. Are you worried about where the money goes when you get, you know, the labor, that's the people that get paid next to nothing to build all these phones?
I've tweeted those exact same things to them, and none of them ever say anything back. None of them have got a smart response.
Though, are you? Or the clothes that you're wearing that have probably been made and stitched by children in China,
in a Chinese sweatshop or a sweatshop in North Korea.
Yeah. Not so bothered about that, though, are you? You know, it's just like something always goes to somebody in the end, and sadly, it ain't us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this, would we? We'd all be rich.
That's the thing when it comes to things like that have a controversial background. People like to cherry pick what they're angry about.
Yes, exactly.
The problem is that there are a lot of people really angry out there. So I have had, for instance, one guy coming to my thread on Twitter today, just spoiling the ending for people. Like literally, I was posting just about the graphics modes and everything I said earlier in the podcast, and then this a-hole comes in and like literally just spoils the ending. That's like ridiculous that people act like this. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, a-hole's the word. Yeah.
Yeah.
Screw those guys.
It's people with far too much time on their hands.
That's the mentality that they've got. If I can't enjoy it, nobody's going to. And the funny thing is, and what me and Jen's mentioned this before, though, the funny thing is that I can guarantee at least 50% of these people that are claiming to have issues have picked the game up and are playing it.
Yeah,
they're either playing it on a separate account, either on Steam, on their Xbox, or right now they're hitting the feels with FOMO. And they're either going to buy it very soon, or they're going to wait for things to quiet down on social media, stop tweeting about it themselves, then they'll buy it. That's what they'll do.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense, but these guys, like, it's not as if JK's had differing feels all the way through her career. She's obviously always harbored her thought process, etc. So if these were fans of her work and who knew her from the beginning, they would have known all of this stuff before they were fans of Harry Potter. And they're clearly not fans of Harry Potter if they're letting this affect their thought process. Like, oh, well, royalties go to her. Well, you use Twitter, and like Elon Musk has had exactly the same thought
You
process.
tweet from a
That's another argument.
smartphone where in third world countries, poor children have to dig up those precious metals that go into your smartphone device. You're going to boycott that? You're going to sell your phone? No? Shut up
No.
then.
I think it's the same with a lot of these activists. They don't quite understand. Like, just stop oil. I'm like, okay, then take your clothes off.
What's ironic about that is
Like,
those
all of
people
you-
that say
everything you
just say no to
possibly need is
oil
using oil.
are the same ones that drive their cars to the places where they're
I wonder
talking
how many
oil
of those
shit.
people. I wonder how many of those people are driving big 4-wheel drives to take their kids to the school and then go shopping at Sainsbury's. You know,
It's just
just
the fact
like,
that these people are
stop
trying
it.
to hold other people to a higher moral standard than they're achieving, which is just weird.
Yeah.
Find the fun, people. Find the fun.
If you've got,
That's
like,
sort of
what-
Logan and Luke Law on the Xbox expansion pass. They've got like a catchphrase thing they're trying to sort of promote, which is hashtag Find the Fun. Just play a game and just enjoy it.
Yeah,
That's all
Yeah.
it is.
but it's a case of
And
if
it's,
you've got an issue
And I agree with it
something,
completely.
yeah, if you've got an issue with something, that is absolutely fine.
Yep.
We respect you for your opinion, your issue. If you don't want to play a game because you don't want to support the original author who had little to no input in this game at all, the only thing
She had zero input into this
Zero,
game.
yeah.
Zero.
it was a case of, can we use your world? Yes, you can use this world. Okay, thank you. Right, we're going to make a game based in this world. Right, terrific. No problem. See you later. That was it. That was the involvement.
I just think these people need to climb off their moral high horse and take a reality check and take a deep dive through all the things they love, and they'll probably find there's dark, shady shit going on in a lot of stuff that they like.
Yeah.
It's just a case of, if you've got an issue with something, I absolutely respect your ability to personally be able to boycott it or not play it or have an opinion about it, but don't enforce your opinions onto others. Don't force somebody to abide by your actions. Like, if somebody
That's
wants to
where I
play the
stand as
game,
well.
that doesn't make them a bad person for wanting to play the game. That also doesn't mean that person automatically has the same thought process as the author of the universe.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
that isn't a thing. Like, just because we play Hogwarts Legacy does not mean I'm a transphobic arsehole. It doesn't mean Boxy is. It doesn't mean Mick is, or Pat is, or Jen is. Like, absolutely not. It doesn't. I do not have the same personal opinions as J.K. Rowling might. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to enjoy a game because she's got different thought processes than me. Like, it doesn't bother me at all. If you really want to piss her off, go into the game, create a trans character, and play the game as a trans character. There you go. If she really hates trans people, that would wind her up more than anything else, surely. She's getting pretty much nothing from it, and you can't do that.
There's trans characters and gay characters in the game already.
Yep. I mean, the names are hilarious, mind. The names are...
Well, there's some people digging into those names. The name of the trans character is Serona, but if you actually go and dig into that name is a Celtic goddess, a healing goddess.
Yeah.
So where are you digging so hard for? Why are you digging so hard for? Should I say?
It's
a fucking name.
Just that. I think the funny thing is, and I can see where they're coming from. It's not just Serona Ryan, which is obviously Sir and Ryan and 2 male names in there, but then they've also done the same with a Jewish character in the game, which happens to have the name Goldstein, and like a person of color character in the game, which happens to have. And these aren't things that these people have created. These are just things that are related to the lore of Harry Potter. So of course there's like tropes in the game, and honestly, you can if you take enough time and look into things, and you're looking for something to be offended by, then you're going to get offended by everything. But just enjoy the game for what it is, for crying out loud. Like, stop looking for things to be offended by, because
We're not allowed to do that in 2023, though.
no,
We've got to sit there in shame and cry about
things
it.
to be offended by, you'd be wrapped in bubble wrap, sitting in the house all day long, with the TV turned off and the radio off. like so. Just people, just take a step back, learn to completely appreciate your opinions and your own thought processes and what might offend you and what might not. But the one thing we will never abide by is other people trying to control the actions of others or control the thought processes of others. Don't tell another person they cannot do something because they are X, Y, and Z. The one thing you're going to always do if you force an opinion onto somebody or try to force somebody to do something is an opposite reaction.
We can already see that happened.
And it's exactly what's happened.
You just got to take a look at the viewership it had on Twitch yesterday.
1.3
It broke
million,
the
that was
record for
record-breaking.
most viewed single player game on Twitch. Because most people that are tweeting out against people don't realize that they're actually, in a way, giving the game free advertisement. They're adding the name to it. People look at the name and they go, I want to check what this game's about and why it's so controversial.
The funny thing is about it, though, literally 9 times out of 10, the general public have little to zero knowledge about anything that J.K. Rowling has said, because where J.K. Rowling has said these things is in a little bubble called Twitter. Where if you speak to the vast majority of the general public, very few people, like that I know specifically, actually use Twitter. They're either on Facebook, or they're on Instagram, or Snapchat, like the 3 very basic ones. That's the general public. The niche side of things is Twitter, which is still very niche. It's a massive company, but I don't know many, if any, people that actually use Twitter personally outside of these lot.
The only other person, apart from all the gaming people I know, the only person in my family that I know that uses Twitter is my mum, and my mum only uses it because there's a lot of F1 news and a lot of the F1 drivers are on Twitter, and they tweet a lot of stuff out, and a lot of the sort of news for F1 goes out on Twitter. That's the only reason she's on it.
But the thing is about Twitter,
let's be real about one thing though. When it comes to the whole Hogwarts world, the large majority of people that are playing this game have probably never read the books in their life. They've seen the movies, and that's it.
Yep.
They don't know who J.K. Rowling is.
Yep.
They don't even care who J.K. Rowling is.
But but again,
they just want to play a game because it's a part of a world that they grew up watching in movies.
Yep. Yep, completely agree.
Yep.
Completely agree. But yeah, moral of the story from me anyway. If you enjoy something, continue to enjoy it. Don't let anybody tell you you can't enjoy it. If somebody's trying to give you harassment because you're enjoying a game, mute or block them. It's not worth their time. Like, they need to go in and find enjoyment somewhere else. If they don't want to play the game, then don't play it. Simple as that. If you have a problem with it, that's absolutely fine. Just don't force me to have a problem with a game that I don't need to have a problem with. End of the story.
Honestly, I respect people that are boycotting the game. They are more than entitled to do so. But don't come at me or anyone else and bully them over something they just want to play to have fun and escape reality.
I know a lot of people that are not playing it, but they're also not stopping people from playing or enjoying it. They're like, you go and have fun, enjoy it. I'm not going to play it. I'm like, that's fine, absolutely fine. You go and do you exercise your right to do that. But the moment you start telling somebody that they have to abide by your thought process and what you say, is the moment everything goes out the window. Like that's the moment you lose respect from anybody, when you start to tell somebody.
And it also got to the point where someone decided to make a website.
Oh yeah.
To boycott anyone that has streamed the game.
Yeah, harassment of
ridiculous
streamers and things is just obscene.
It didn't.
It got shut down. Yeah, I was going to say
it didn't last long because they shut the website down. I think it was less than 24 hours after it went up. So yeah, I don't understand why people get that into it. Just let people have fun. Like I said, most people don't even know or give a fuck who J.K. Rowling is.
Yeah, and as Laurasaurus in the chat there says, even if people know what J.K. Rowling said, a lot of gamers are getting this game because they're Potterheads, so it's nostalgic, and most people can separate her questionable views from the game devs who made it. Exactly. The vast majority of sensible people The vast majority of sensible people are able to separate this from the
Artists
other.
from their artwork.
Yeah. They are not the same.
Fact.
Her views are not the same as the universe she's created. The universe she's created is full of very diverse characters from top to bottom. Very, like, goblins and mysterious creatures, and the game is filled with characters from all over the world. You've got kind of Indian characters, you've got Asian characters, you've got Jewish characters, you've got people of color, you've got American, English, African, like all over the place. There's so many diverse characters in the game of different genders and sexes and things like that. So it's completely like the devs themselves have done an absolutely fantastic job. Jen, I know we've kind of diverted onto this kind of just kind of covering that particular topic off initially, but let's get back to the good stuff. The game itself. We'll get your thoughts before we move on to the next topic, but what's your overall thoughts on the game so far? You've dived into the exploration of the game more than the story, so what's your thoughts on it?
I'm absolutely loving the exploration. The castle isn't exactly one-to-one to the movies, and a lot of that can be explained by this is 200 years in the past, and obviously magic, so the castle would probably change over the time because the magic surrounding the world. As for like the exploration, like I mentioned, I'm one of those people that will be doing a main quest, and then all of a sudden I'll see something in the distance, and I'll go, I need to go and look at that immediately. And then I go, oh, I need to go look at that immediately. And then that, and that, and that. And then I'm taking so many different directions, looking at everything. And that's what I love the most about big open world games like this. And being someone that grew up with those movies as well, I love it even more because I'm there, I'm in that world. I'm playing as a character that I've made myself. And I get to just go and soak up all that world properly. Like you don't do in the movies. You're in specific locations in the movies for very little time. And you don't get to see all of that world of Hogwarts and the surrounding world of the forest and Hogsmeade, all the little stores in Hogsmeade. You can go in, I'm pretty sure, almost every single building, minus maybe like 5%. A few are locked off. But most of them are padlocked off, and you'll unlock a spell later on, which I haven't done just yet, that does give you access to a lot of these rooms and hidden rooms. And there's a lot of little Easter eggs around as well that you can pick up on. As well as like, a lot of lore as you're going through using the spell that reveals those scroll pages that we've talked about. There's a lot of lore there as well, and you can just stop and read each lore about what specific item or shop or building you're entering. Not every building has that, but a lot of them do. That's the biggest point for me so far. And another big thing is the customization. The level of customization is pretty insane. Character customization's not too in depth. You've got a lot of presets, so you can only really make a wizard to a degree. You can't make a one-to-one direct lookalike of yourself if you wanted to.
Yeah,
that's not possible in the game.
Wolowitz didn't turn out. I couldn't get his hairstyle. I couldn't get how
you got me laughing so hard, man.
I really wanted a bowl cut.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. There's not enough hair choices.
I'm surprised you haven't marked it down, Jen, just for not having some sort of purple skull, you know.
I did question that because you can get a skull mask, but you can't change the color of items, and that's something I would like more. But I do have to give it props. No matter what item you equip in the game, whether say one item might look bad, but it's got really good stats, you can change the look of that item to really anything. You can transmog that item into a different robe that you did like, because if you didn't like the look of one thing, you can change it like that. So it really does give you a lot of options to choose what you want your wizard to look like and stuff like that. But it could be a little bit more in depth, but obviously there's only so much you can do in such a vast open world game and keep it to this level of detail.
Yeah, I mean, where the character creation is relatively limited, the world itself is the complete opposite. Like it is the
Yeah.
literally exact opposite end of the scale. Like the world is hyper detailed, which is
I'm really loving the story as well. There's like this whole thing around your character being attached to ancient magic, and that's something that you'll learn about as you go through the game.
yeah, it's a
I
different.
won't
It's
go
like a
into
different
to
twist
details
on
about that.
because obviously, in as everybody knows, anybody who's watched the films, etc. Like the reason Harry Potter is the main character is because of obviously his connection with the Dark Wizard, Voldemort, and he's got
The
scar
boy
on his
who
head.
lived,
Yeah.
come to die.
He's got that scar on his head, and of course
Correct.
he's the chosen one essentially. And in this one, it's kind of you are the chosen one again, but it's for a different reason entirely. Like you've got the ability to kind of have these ancient powers, and of course you learn more about that as you go through. But it's not because it's set to a certain dark wizard. Completely the opposite, actually, because you've got these powers. Ranrock, who is this dark elf, is wanting to come in and kind of find you and find out what these ancient powers are all about. And of course, you're still learning about them as you go through. So it's kind of similar to an extent, but you are essentially this. You're finding out about whatever powers you've got and
Yeah,
how
because
they.
your character has these ancient powers. They're tied to a lot of things locked off because of these ancient magics, and I guess a lot of the story will revolve around these bad guys wanting to basically exploit your wizard for their own personal gains.
Yeah.
One thing that I really liked also about the game is when you're entering the vault in the beginning with Professor Fig, and you get those you see those knights, and you actually need to use Lumos, and
I
then
love that part. That
put
was
them
so
in a
cool.
right angle. That part, that's already freaking awesome, and that's only the beginning. So
You have to line up the reflections with
yeah,
the actual statue.
there was one moment where I don't know if people already probably played this part, but you get this moment where you're by yourself and you have those 3 knights and you need to find that one spot to get them.
Sweet spot where they all rise up.
Yes, and I was searching in the moment. I was like, wait, I'm doing something wrong. Let me just check, and then the line's connected. And yeah, it's freaking cool, man.
Well, when you're speaking on that one, actually, Pat, it's not even just Lumos. Like, this is another thing when we're talking about spells and the combat and things, but aside from the combat side of things, like all of the spells that you unlock have a practical ability in the world. So it's not just a case of Lumos to light up the dark. As you mentioned, Lumos also helped you with the reflections. And the same with the Leviosa, where you're lifting things up, or whether or not it's the spell to pull things towards you. Like, all of these have practical uses in the world. So you can kind of pull boxes towards you to be able to jump up on things, or you can levitate something in order to move it away, or you can use Obliterate to destroy something, or Fire Spell to get rid of cobwebs. Like, everything that you have isn't just combat, it's also it's also practical in kind of how you navigate the world. So yeah, so good.
There's practical uses for I think the large majority of the spells. Obviously, I can't speak on that because I ain't far enough into the game to have unlocked every single spell. But like, you've got the spell where you use fire, and you can use that in certain puzzles. You use Lumos in certain puzzles. So yeah, they do have a lot of practical uses.
Unlocked the fire spell. So, but there are some. I see some streamers. Believe me, they have spells. They go beyond, man. It's crazy. The amount of power that those spells have is insane.
The instant death spell you have to unlock through a side quest. It's not a main quest. You have to find the side quest for that to be able to unlock that spell.
Yeah, like Obliterate as well, which is was it Obliterate? It was another one. That one, it wasn't a main quest. It was a side one where you had to roll out of the way 10 times, and you had to set 5 people on fire in combat, and then you could learn the spell. So it wasn't like doing a lesson. You had to go out into the world, fight people, like put your combat to use, and then it would say, right, okay, now you can come back and learn Obliterate. I was like, okay, that's a cool way of doing it. Like, no, don't
that's
just
nice,
learn a
yeah.
spell. Like, go and use that spell.
I do feel that is a little bit fetch questy, not to the degree that some games do it though. Some games out there want you to jump through literal hoops to unlock some of the stuff. This game does it in a way where it's not too heavy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, for that one, I went into this, and this is another thing, and I remembered that I was a higher level than I was, otherwise I would have run away. But I went into this little, like broken down castle section, and there was these two guys standing there that again, the bad guys that I could fight. So I was like, right, I'll go and fight them, and I'll do what I need to do in order to get this unlocked. And then it was like loads of mysteries beside it, and then I seen a cobweb on this like broken castle arch, so I took the cobweb down. And as soon as I did that, this like level 13 like giant tarantula kind of came running towards us. I was like, oh shit. I was like running away. Then I remembered I was like level 12. I was like, oh, this is actually not as bad as I thought. Like, let's fight. If I wasn't that high, I would have just ran. Would have just ran away.
Crazy.
But that's what I love about
I think I was level 15 when I entered the forest, and then you get that level 20 spider, and I was like, oh shit, I died the first time, and I was like, I had to cheese it. There's a certain point where you come out and it doesn't come out of the cave, or it must have got stuck or something. So yeah, pretty funny.
Yeah, but no, so far phenomenal work. And again, we're talking about like Jen's probably maybe about 9 hours into the game or something, maybe a little bit more. I'm only 6
10.
hours. And I haven't even scratched the surface yet. Like I've only unlocked maybe not even a third of the spells you can learn. I've barely unlocked any of the clothing items or upgrade systems. Like I've really barely scratched the surface, and it's like the overall impression so far is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, we've had. I mean, this is back-to-back good weeks so far. When we're talking about games, like we started off like last week with Hi-Fi Rush, absolutely smashing it out the park. Like such a phenomenal game, really enjoyable start to finish. Everybody thoroughly enjoyed the game and thoroughly enjoys the game. And then coming into this week, we're all like, okay, let's see what Hogwarts is like. And then everyone's playing it, and they're just blown away by the level of detail and the mystery around the game and things like that. Such a good start of the year so far for gaming. Such a good start. And of course, we've got Age of Empires 2 on console. I've been playing more of that recently as well. It's far more... Again, I'm very rarely actually play on PC unless Boxenberger's like, Dutch, sit down and we're going to play some Age. And then...
It happens occasionally.
I actually have a question about that game that I thought Boxy would know.
Yeah.
Is what I keep hearing that the controller support is unrivaled, and it's really good.
It is.
Oh, it is really
Have you
good.
tried it?
Yeah.
And why is it so good? Why is it so different?
So they kind of figured out a way how they let you do a lot of things in parallel on controllers, which is like very easy to do, of course, with mouse and keyboard, like click that unit there, string actions together after to tell a unit, I don't know, after you build this, you build that. And it feels very natural to do that on console. And that is, I think, unprecedented so far for real-time strategy games. One of the things that Age heavily relies upon is actually grouping your units together, and they have found a way to kind of work around that. So it's really not that they let you group your units really good together, but they have found like little things that make the controls so convenient that you don't have to group that much. And so yeah, it just feels really good on controller. Truly surprised by how they pulled that off.
I actually saw a article. I forget the magazine, but it was one of the usual suspects for clickbait, and I didn't read it. I just saw the headline, and it was talking about how it was something about Age had done a great job, and here's why they're keeping it exclusive. the actual control system. I was like, man, can we just stop?
Nothing to do with the fact that it's like
nothing to do with the fact that it was great and they've done a really good job and or anything. It was all about, oh well, now they've made this system that works great for RTSs on console, and Xbox is keeping it exclusive. Like,
it is. I agree though that the controls are very convenient, very easy to use, and even I'm starting to learn. Like, the more I play the game, the more I learn how to navigate the map a bit better as well, where you can get from point A to point B pretty easily, as opposed to just, like, scrolling to one side of the map. You can kind of open up with the right bumper, select an area, press Y, and it automatically zooms to that area, which is nice and quick, really speeds things up. But no, I've played quite a bit of the console version now, and it's definitely, like, obviously me and Boxy are still very much PC fans over the console version, because there's just certain things that we enjoy more, and it's a lot quicker. But the console version is extremely competent, and it's like
it is.
Yeah, it's well.
Honestly, my biggest issue with it isn't the controls itself. Like you said, I still prefer, of course, mouse and keyboard, but it's really not that. It's just me having played way past 500 hours now in H4. I have to say that H4 is actually simply the more modern and better game. So not that H2 is bad by any stretch of the means, not even close. It's a fantastic game, but it shows its state when you compare it to H4. And since I'm so invested in H4, of course, a couple of things just feel outdated. You know what I mean? That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I love it that they have found such a fantastic way to bring the game to console. But
the good news
if I have to choose,
the good news is that you don't have to wait too long for Age 4 to be on console.
Yeah, they tweeted, end of the year. So it is a bit, but that's fine.
Quite long.
I was going to say that
it's quite long.
At the same front, for those who want to play Age, or at least get used to the controls on Age, this is a very good one to play whilst you're waiting for 4 to come out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I still want to get an Age 2 console versus match set up with the community. Like, I'd love to be able to play a versus match and see how quickly. Just have, like, parameters where you can't attack each other until you get to a certain age and things like that. So it gives people time to build up and getting certain things. Because I think if me and Boxy played a lot of the community, it would go wouldn't last long, put it that way. Boxy's trained me up to a point where I can speed build things now and create a vast army in a very short amount of time. So
yeah.
The only difference is, and one thing when I played 2, and I forget this, is that creating farms other than food has no benefit, whereas in Age 4, creating farms has a big benefit, which is it generates gold. And a lot of gold.
Not with every civilization, though. Not with every civilization.
Just the Britons.
Yeah. Just the Britons, yeah.
But
that's also that's one of the things, that I meant earlier. There are certain mechanics, like you have, like the civilizations in H2 play very similar. Like but in H4, there's really like a significant difference in how you have to play certain civilizations. They are just very, very different. If you know what I mean. So playing like the French and English is just night and day. It's just like significant difference in H4.
You're not still going on about the French, are you?
Oh, no. I actually figured out a way how to beat the French pretty well.
I remember you saying. I had flashbacks of you having real issues with the French.
Oh yeah. That's the awesome thing about H4. You know, with every season they introduce certain mechanics on certain civilizations. Yeah. So and they make tweaks here and there, and then your strategies really become significantly different if you change your from season 1 to 2, for instance. Suddenly that the strategies people have been using became useless against certain civilizations, like the French. So they felt like very overpowered. But then, of course, over time, everyone figured out how to beat the French and how to play use different strategies and stuff. And then all of a sudden they were not overpowered or didn't feel overpowered anymore. So that's the awesome thing. You always have to adjust with age 4, you know? Absolutely. Absolutely.
No, no, no. I'm going to my bed. I'm going to my bed.
Oh, that's me. No one heard me, but you heard Pat responding. But yeah, Pat.
Yeah.
We'll let you go, bro. But let's tell people where they can find you and when you're going to be streaming next.
You guys can find me, of course, on Twitter, main platform where I post my tweets, where I share my things, all under the same name, Petru70. Same counts for Twitch. I was planning to stream before the podcast, but got the headache coming up, so I didn't do it. But I might be streaming tomorrow. But yeah, just keep an eye out on the Twitter Twitter feed, and yeah, we're gonna see, man. But it's gonna be mostly Hogwarts Legacy the upcoming week. So
awesome stuff, awesome, bro. Will you go and rest your head then, and we will
yes,
see you
thanks,
again.
guys.
See you again next time.
Take
bro.
it
I see
easy,
you guys
Pat.
later, man.
See
Take
you
it
later,
easy,
pal.
guys.
Take it easy,
Have a good
man.
night.
Yeah, man.
And then there were 4 chaps.
There
So
were 4.
last little topic of the day. It is a shorter show. There hasn't been too much in terms of gaming news, but of course we had a lot of Harry Potter to talk about, well, Hogwarts to talk about, which is awesome. And of course talked a little bit about age there as well, which is good. We've had a
It's always good.
Yeah.
You can never go wrong by talking about age.
No.
So
No.
you know it's a good podcast when you had at least like 20 minutes of talk about age.
Yes.
It's like the metric for a good podcast these days.
Yeah, it's the age of podcasts, the age of gaming podcast with Boxy on Thursdays.
There you go.
The world of empires.
The world of empires.
But yes, but we've had a really
me.
awesome first few weeks here of just games and awesome games to talk about. So what better on a gaming podcast than to kind of talk about our love for these awesome games that have come out recently. On that note, to finish off the show, not that we really want to talk about it, but of course we will because it's coming towards its inevitable conclusions. Of course, CMA have released their provisional findings on the Activision Blizzard Xbox acquisition. The provisional findings, of course, provisional. This is what a lot of people aren't understanding. A lot of them are just saying, oh, they're going to block it. They're going to block it. Look, it's blocked. No, it's not blocked. These are provisional findings and suggested remedies, whether they be structural or otherwise. Essentially, what they've said is they find that it, as we would expect, as all markets have, FTC have already had a motion to do it, now are seeking remedies. The CMA have had concerns with it and are now seeking remedies. We expect the EU to do exactly the same. They will have concerns and will seek remedies. So the CMA have released their initial provisional findings and suggested remedies. Some structural remedies which are obscene, which involved divestment of Call of Duty as the entirety of the IP. There are some divestments where they require them to divest potentially divest all of Activision Blizzard, which makes no sense. Like, why would you buy all of Activision Blizzard and divest it? And then part of Activision Blizzard, which would be a structural remedy. So those are essentially last resorts. They essentially underneath there underline the fact that if these are absolutely impossible to achieve, these structural remedies, then they would look at behavioral remedies. Now, of course, I don't think any universe in which Xbox or Activision Blizzard are going to divest any of these IPs or studios.
No, they'll fight this in a court of law if it comes to it.
Yeah, for specifically for the CMA, it's just a case of they'll then just go to access and behavioural remedies, which would be more along the lines of ensuring that all platforms have agreements between them that the games won't leave them, such as your Call of Duties, such as your Diablos and things like that. Like, those will stay multi-plat, essentially. And this is the thing that I don't think Xbox or Activision care about, is they don't care if Call of Duty's multi-plat. Like, they've already said numerous occasions, we don't care about Call of Duty. Like, that isn't why we bought this entire thing. Like, so we've already offered that remedy, which they have stated in the CMA's findings. Microsoft have informed them that they have already provided contractual obligations to every one of these third parties that Call of Duty will remain everywhere.
For 10 years.
Yep, for 10 years.
Which is a contract that would never really be made. It's usually a term of 2 to 3 year contracts, and then you come back to the negotiating table to negotiate a better deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Not 10 years, but Microsoft are going to give them 10 years.
So, yeah, exactly. On this front, it's going to boil down to behavioural and access remedies. It will be essentially ensuring that these IPs remain multi-plat. It will be looking at behavioural remedies surrounding cloud and potentially Gamepass. So I think at this stage, potentially unlikely to see Call of Duty be on Gamepass, or if it does go on Gamepass, is also offered onto subscription services on rival platforms, so that the playing field is level. So essentially saying, listen, if it's going onto Game Pass, it has to go onto PS Plus. If it's going onto this, and Nintendo happen to have a service like they have the expansion
the
pass.
thing is that Sony doesn't want that.
Yeah.
They don't want that Call of Duty on PS Plus. Yeah,
which is weird.
And
It is
indeed.
weird. I can kind of understand.
They don't believe in subscriptions, you know. At least it make their arguments are what's the English word? Coherent, because they just say, hey, screw subscription services. We want to sell the games. That's where we make more revenue from.
The funny thing is, though, is I can understand that argument if it wasn't for the fact that statistically, as we know from sales data, it's having the opposite effect. The people that are on these subscription services are more likely to buy games than those that aren't on this subscription service. Which is obviously people wouldn't have assumed this before the likes of Game Pass started providing these statistics, but sales data proves that the vast majority of people that have Game Pass buy more games than those that do not have Game Pass. It's a complete opposite flip of the scale, and I think PlayStation would also realize this. Like, people are hardwired to think this is a subscription. Much like Netflix and Amazon Prime and every other subscription, these things are not going to be in this subscription forever. And if I really love this game, one thing I'm going to do is buy this game. So regardless of whether it's in a subscription or not, I'm going to buy this because I love it. And that's still the mentality of the general buying populace. Yes, this is in a subscription, but I love this game and I'm going to buy this game. Like, it's the same with why me and Boxy own Age of Empires 4 and own Age of Empires 2. Yes, it's in Game Pass PC, but we love that game, so we're buying it. Same reason I own Forza Horizon, even though it's on Game Pass. I've got the whole thing. I've got the big whopping deal.
I pre-ordered Sea of Thieves.
Yep.
Long before it was, it was a first party game into Game Pass. It was like, don't care, still buying it.
Yeah, and that's just the trend. It's completely back to front as what PlayStation are saying it is, but Microsoft have the sales data to back that up. And this is one of the things I think that would go towards it as well, is they can say, listen, we understand your worries behind subscription services, but what we've got is hard sales data to prove to the contrary. Those that are on this subscription are actually more likely to buy games than those that aren't, which is, like I say, it's counterintuitive to what you would think. These people are literally here to save money, and they're doing the opposite. They're actually spending more money than we ever thought they would. They're buying 4 times as many games. But it's a good, I think, and again, offering the likes of Nintendo a way to have Call of Duty on the console the first time since the Wii is obviously a major bonus for Nintendo. Nintendo have their own subservice. PlayStation have a subservice, which they've recently refined to have premium, which gives game trials to big IPs. We can understand if PlayStation don't want to put their own IPs into the service day one because they want to get those fresh sales in there. That's fine. You do what you want to do, PlayStation, for your own IPs. But when it comes to third-party IPs, even your own studios and your own development teams are putting games into Game Pass day and date. Major League Baseball, which again comes into Game Pass day and date. And granted, the license belongs to MLB, but that is created by Sony Interactive. That is going into the Game Pass day one, as it does. And this is, again, it's an example as to, we know the sales data proves that these people buy this game more and have more higher user engagement, which is why we continue to put in the service. So I think the behavioral remedies will center around just ensuring everyone's on a level playing field. That's my thoughts anyway. Microsoft will say we can guarantee Call of Duty from a technical, graphical, and subscription standpoint can be parity if Sony choose for it to be parity. We will offer those terms. Now, the thing is about this is Microsoft only need to offer those terms. The competitor doesn't need to accept the terms. They can say, we will do X, Y, and Z. We will give you the Earth. We will give you it on subscriptions. We will continue to provide the game forever. Like, as long as the CMA, as long as the FTC, as long as the EU regulators see that is being offered, and they know that is actually physically an offer on the table in written format, they go, okay, that is a remedy we're happy with, regardless of whether or not Sony choose to accept the fact that it's going on to subscription or not. The fact that that has been given as an option to these platforms, that they will have guarantees in contractual format that it's staying there and it's going to be level playing field, regardless of whether Sony accept the terms or not, is another thing. That's entirely up to Sony whether or not they want it on PS Plus. If it's been offered, listen, if you want it on PS Plus, you can have it. Like, that's the thing that the CMA are more looking at. They're more looking at what is being offered to ensure that everyone's on the level playing field on that front.
So Sony are mostly mad, and they're opposing this deal because they're going to lose advertising rights to Call of Duty, and they're going to lose exclusive content.
That's what it boils down to. That's ultimately, for me, that's ultimately what it boils down to. For Sony, it's all about the subservice and Call of Duty. And on the Call of Duty front, it's not because
that's really all Sony care about. As they've always, every time we've heard something Sony have said about this deal, it's always been down to Call of Duty.
Yeah,
there's hundreds of IPs. Well, I'm not sure I'd say hundreds of IPs, but there's plenty of IP that Activision has that they could also leverage and say why it's a bad thing for Microsoft to get all those IPs. But they're harping on this Call of Duty thing like it's their bread and butter.
And that's the one thing as well. Like, this is the reason why Xbox and Microsoft aren't fussed about the IPs that they're getting here. because they're not bothered too much about the current IP selection. Like to be honest, at bottom line, I think Microsoft at the end of the day could just say, listen, all current IPs will remain multiplat. We don't care. Anything we create from scratch, all them studios come up with new IPs as exclusive. But any current IPs, everybody can have them. We don't care. I think Microsoft don't care about that because at the end of the day, they're not buying Activision Blizzard for the IPs. That's an added bonus. They're buying it specifically for King, which is the mobile segment, which they need to grow that market. Like the Call of Duty and all of this stuff, all them IPs, they're all just an added bonus. So I don't think at the end of the day...
they are an added bonus, but they have a very powerful added bonus at the moment because that's where the conversation lands.
It is, and ultimately...
you see that they didn't ask for a remedy like, hey, let's make Candy Crush.
Yeah.
And not part of this deal. They said it's called they said let's remove Call of Duty from the deal. So even though Microsoft, yes, it's their of course their intention to get into the mobile section with Blizzard and King, but Call of Duty is also very prestigious. They want to print that on the box. They want on the Xbox. Yeah, they want to have it in Game Pass. Of course, they keep it multiplat, but hey, they also print Minecraft on the Xbox box and not on the PlayStation box. So, yes, it's about mobile and King, but I don't think Microsoft is willing to give Call of Duty up like that.
No,
that's the one thing. The other thing is, if you would have asked me yesterday about this, I would have said, well, we pay sometimes a little bit too much attention to what Sony is doing. Sony is doing that job. Of course, they want to block that.
Yep.
Hey, why would Sony want them to grow their competitor? Of course, if they don't do that, Jim Ryan wouldn't do his job. So it's and the CMA and the FTC and the EU, they all know that. Hey, we are, as much as we sometimes hate on the CMA and everyone, those are professionals. They know that if company A wants to have do an acquisition, that the main competitor of company A, aka company B, will argue against the merger or the acquisition. They know that. CMA knows that. So I don't think the CMA is paying too much attention to what Sony is saying. I think the CMA is more paying attention to what Microsoft as a company is doing. This is not about video games. The problem that the CMA has is not about video games. It's about one of the most expensive and one of the biggest tech giants in the world wants to grow. And they don't want to grow with a small acquisition of a couple of billions. They want to grow with one of the biggest mergers and acquisitions the tech industry has seen as a whole. There are not many deals that are in that scale where we talk around $70 billion. You can count those on 3 fingers. And I'm not just talking video games here. So that's what they do. So, yeah. Of course, Sony argues against it. No problem with that. I don't think the CMA pays much attention to that. But then the question is, what the hell are they thinking about Call of Duty? If they want to lessen the impact of the deal, let's talk about them not getting King. Activision Blizzard isn't the main part.
Like they haven't, like in their findings, they haven't mentioned mobile, which is really weird.
Yes,
like
exactly,
really
and that's the weird part.
And Call of Duty.
And so I have to kind of remedy my initial statement. We are talking with professionals here, because if we would talk to professionals, we would see that more in their statement, in the argument of Microsoft getting into another segment and growing their business and blah, blah, blah. But they are just looking at console market. at the console market.
But yeah,
And of course,
specifically
in
when
the
it comes
console market,
to kind of add to that comment as well, where you said you wanted to remedy it, one of the weirdest statements that they had included in there was talking about that they questioned PlayStation Call of Duty players as to what level of them would switch consoles if it was exclusive. They said 24% of players said they would switch consoles. 75% of them agreed that the acquisition was fine and they had no issues with it. But then they said this 24%, of which would not opt to go and buy an expensive console in order to play the game, completely excluding the fact that you don't have to buy a console to play the game. You'd be able to. This is the whole purpose of cloud, which again, if you're talking to professionals, they would have done the due diligence on what cloud gaming is in Game Pass. You can play it on the PC on the browser. You can play it on your phones as a browser. You can play it on the TV as a browser or an app. You can play it on your phone as an app.
Yeah.
Like, it is available to everybody, everywhere, via the cloud. Like, you don't have to buy a console. So the statement saying that somebody would have to buy an expensive console to play Call of Duty had no... Like, there was as if they hadn't done their due diligence. Like you said with the mobile segment, they're focusing so heavily on Call of Duty and cloud, but then they've missed out the whole aspect of why cloud gaming is there in the first place, and then also missed out on why why Xbox and Activision are merging in the first place, which is mainly mobile. So it makes you wonder what due diligence these professionals have done to have some of these weird statements.
That's really the weird thing. So yeah, I want to add one comment, and that is something I'm not sure if it's true, but I've seen it out there. We have like bigger analysts and venture capitalists and so on come out and say that this is actually a good sign, what the CMA did, because if they would have a hard legal argument against the acquisition, they wouldn't come out and propose remedies like that. They would go out and say, no, we're not doing it. You're not allowed to do it. But for them to come out with this, give up Call of Duty, then you can have the acquisition thing, is kind of on shaky ground.
And they've stipulated in that it's shaky ground anyway, because directly underneath that give up Call of Duty, divest, etc., it then goes on to say, if these struck out of left field and are just impossible. So obviously, Microsoft are going to go, fuck no. Like, we're not divesting any of this. So we're going to talk about the other remedies.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Mike, what do you think?
Yeah. You're muted, man. Oh, there you go.
Sorry, no, I just unmuted myself. This, I'm starting to understand why Pat decided he had a migraine and had to go. No, it's. I'm so good. Looking forward to this being over. Like you said, I don't think they've got any actual legal thing that they can actually sort of use. So they are just trying to find as many small things to throw at them, and the hope that something might stick. I don't think it will. It'll still go through eventually. Might take a bit longer, but it'll happen.
Yeah.
I'm afraid. It's just being dragged out as long as they're going to drag it out as long as they can. And Sony don't want, like you said, Dutch. They don't want Call of Duty in PS Plus. They don't want it there because they want to sell it. That's how they've always made their money. They're not willing to change.
But it's
from
not
that.
even just they want to sell Call of Duty, as Jen mentioned earlier. Specifically, They don't want to just sell Call of
Mhm.
Duty. They want the right
They
to
want
put it
the
on their box.
advertising. They want
Mhm.
the exclusive content.
Yeah.
They want to put
So
that
it
big
pushes
banner,
sales to their platform.
that big banner across the top of the box. For some reason, my camera's going out of focus. The big banner across the top of the box that says PlayStation and the big words exclusive, and then a tiny little line underneath that says, with a little star that says content, exclusive content.
Content.
Yep,
Content
that's
is
what it's
want.
all about with
mostly
Sony.
for.
That's why they're getting all pissy, and that's why they're demanding parity. Because if Xbox get the franchise, they want it to be parity down the middle. They want it to be mirrored. None of that exclusive content. That's what they don't want. They don't want Xbox to have the exclusive content. They don't want Xbox to have the advertising rights, although they'll get that because they'll own it anyway.
We'll see if they get parity. The thing is, if they get parity on advertising, then fine. Have parity on advertising. But then you have parity on the content, which means that no one has exclusive content for it, which means everybody gets it day one, which is exactly what players should have.
Good. That's how it
Everyone
should be.
have the same
And that's how,
content day one.
that's how it's likely going to be anyway, because we've all heard how Phil's vocal when it comes to exclusive content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
the
not
only
bothered.
thing with the parity is about technical parity. Where does it look and run better? It's hard to promise that because we don't know what will happen in 5 to 10 years, console-wise. And you can't have parity in between the Switch and the PS5. We can't have that. And we can have it.
That's where the terms come into play, because it's, especially when you're doing a broad contract where for all platforms, it would be technical parity where possible. So consoles like PlayStation 5 and Series X, you'd be able to say, okay, well, we can have technical parity there. We can get both of them running at 4K 60. We can get both of them running at 1080p 120. We can have them both graphically the same. That they're not an issue. When it comes to Nintendo, then of course Nintendo I don't think are arsed, to be honest. Nintendo will just be like, I'm so glad we've got Call of Duty again. Happy days. So they're not bothered. And PC are in another world of their own. So it boils down to just what the console performance is going to be like. And again, the console performance with Call of Duty has, in large, been pretty identical across both platforms for like God knows how long, if not completely identical. The only differences being, and I think will still remain, is that they'll make the most of the controller usage on the DualSense. They'll make the most of the controller usage on the Series console. They'll make the most of the 3D audio options on both platforms differently. So I think in terms of what parity is going to happen, I think it is going to be parity. I think Sony are mainly concerned, and this is again my only thing that Sony's got against this, because in terms of technical parity, I don't think there is any footing there to suggest that it hasn't been technical parity anyway, and that Microsoft would gimp a version for the other platform. They've never done it before, so why would they now? And on the developer side, you wouldn't purposefully go out of your way to gimp something. At the end of the day, that's something you're proud of and you're working on. So developers wouldn't want to go out of their way to gimp a version of the game to receive hate for no reason. It is, to me, just boils down to the fact that they just want them advertising rights. And that's the parity that they can't have, is the advertising. Like they want... They just want the advertisement rights. But at the end of the day... This
is exactly what happens when your primary focus on first-person shooters on your own platform is a third-party game.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Sony wouldn't be so pissy if they had an already established first-person shooter franchise that had been on their console in recent years, but they haven't. They've shelved most of their franchises because they didn't invest well in them games, and they
have
pretty much failed.
Destiny now.
Now they have Destiny, yeah. But I think at the moment they're acting pissy and they're acting like spoiled brats because they need something until now, until Bungie have helped them establish new first-person shooter. And this is exactly why Sony are being so anal about things.
Again, I don't think the CMA pays too much attention to what Sony is saying. Of course, they listen.
I agree. I
to
don't think
them.
they care what they're saying on that front. But But these are the reasons why I think Sony are being so uppity. It's just the advertising rights. I think on the CMA's front, as Boxy mentioned, though, if there was a serious issue, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about remedies. The findings would have been our thoughts right now. This deal is blocked. Like, we cannot see a way around this. We cannot see any remedies. Like, this deal is not going through. That's our findings. And we do not, there isn't any suggestions you could make in order to go against this. That's essentially what would happen if there was an issue, a significant legal issue behind it, is the CMA would have come out and just said, listen, this isn't happening. It's done. And this is the reason why. We see X, Y, and Z as a major issue that cannot be overcome. We cannot see any remedies resolving these issues. We see this causing this issue, and we can't see any remedies overcoming this issue. And therefore, our suggestions will be to block the acquisition. Fact is, we're not seeing that. What we're seeing is multiple, even the FTC, who had that strong stance initially of, we're motion to block it, motion to sue to block, etc. And then it become a lot softer, and it was like, well, we're not taking it to federal, we're just taking it to in-house. So it's not actually a block. It's basically us saying, now we're going to start discussing remedies. So the FTC softened up pretty quickly. The CMA have come out with their initial findings, which look like harsh wording, but in a matter of fact, they're just looking for remedies now. And we expect the EU to be exactly the same. Very harsh wording, significant concerns, searching for remedies. Ultimately, I think Microsoft will get the time frame, because the CMA, for instance, has a time frame of the 22nd of this month to reply with remedies. So I think Microsoft and Activision Blizzard will have this deal closed in their time frame, which they hoped, which is middle of the year. I foresee that being realistic. I think July-ish by the time this gets put through. And then we can eventually move on. Hallelujah.
I can't wait.
Hopefully.
By the way, moving on. I haven't had dinner, and it's past 10
we're
now.
wrapping up now anyway, Boxy. Don't you worry. Don't you
Fantastic, man.
But yes, thank you to everybody who's joined us this evening to the midweek Hogwarts gaming podcast.
Might as well have been.
Yeah, but no, it's awesome show again. When news is light and we've got awesome games to talk about, of course, we're going to just talk in full length about our loves for games that we're playing. And of course, it's a gaming podcast, so why wouldn't we? And hopefully, there's going to be many more of these coming this year as well, where we can just jump into these awesome games that we love. Thankfully, we've had these.
Tune in for the midweek mix-up Starfield podcast.
That's out.
Jedi Survivor. Jedi Survivor.
Oh dear God, yeah. Bring that on. I can't wait. I'm actually slightly glad that's been pushed back to April. I'm like, there's so many games now. So many games.
And it's only 6 days apart from Redfall now.
It is.
Are you really happy with that?
Yeah. To be honest, because they're very different games, I think, and especially looking at how long. And I know this one's bigger, but how long it took to complete the last one, which was relatively short. It was less than 15 hours. This one's going to be around about the 20-ish hours mark to complete on Survivor, so it's not going to be uber long. Redfall's going to be a little bit longer. So I think I'll probably end up having Survivor almost complete by the time Redfall comes out, which means I can start Redfall and finish Survivor at the same time. So it's all right for me.
And the beauty of Redfall is it's in Game Pass.
It would have been far worse, I think, to me, if this had been pushed back into Starfield territory. Because I'm like,
yeah,
true that. But Redfall I can cope with. Redfall's fine. But no, other than that, chaps, let's bid our awesome chat a good evening and a adieu, auf Wiedersehen, and let's get everybody out of here so they can enjoy the rest of their evenings. First of all, Boxenberger, let people know where they can find you, brother. Your awesome show tomorrow, of course, with myself. Yes, where can people find that and what we're going to be talking about?
Oh, we will talk about a lot of fun things, because sometimes I wonder why people miss so many fantastic news. So we will talk, of course, about a couple of things we have talked on this show, but we will also talk about like the new game of Moon Studios. We got a lot of infos on that. So the Ori devs are making something new, and we will talk about what it is, because we learned quite a lot about that game this week. We will talk about the Nintendo Direct. We will talk about hang on, where are my show notes? Dragon Age and Fable, and man, there's so much to talk about. So it's gonna be an awesome show tomorrow, of course, over there at the World of Gaming, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK time, or 8 p.m. Central Europe, over on my channel. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. And other than that, there's always something exciting happening in gaming. So yeah, can't wait for next week, man.
Awesome. And even at this point, I would imagine everybody on this channel is following Boxenberger. But if you don't, of course, as always, all of these chaps are down below in the description, all links to their channels and their Twitter handles and everything like that, all down below. If you don't already follow any of these, and I don't know why you wouldn't at this point, go and follow them. Next up, Mick. Let people know where they can find you, brother, and what you've got coming up.
Yeah, Xbox Mick 29 on Twitter and pretty much everywhere, YouTube, all those places. See you Tuesdays with yourself and Jen and Chris and whoever else is on. Usually some guests. We had our friend Sightless Combat came back on with us this week, which is nice. Just as a spare person, which was nice. He was able to come along. Enjoyed that. And I have spoken to Happy Kraken, and she will be hopefully in the coming weeks. She'll be coming along, another member of the Sea of Thieves community. Recently just got partner legend status with Sea of Thieves, so that's good news for her. So yeah, there's that every Tuesday, and that's about it at the moment. Obviously Sundays with Sightless Combat as well. So we stream whatever he wants to stream. So yeah, me and Paddy and Mina and Sightless usually playing either Sea of Thieves or Minecraft Dungeons or Gears of War, anything like that really. So yeah, anything that's accessible. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome stuff. And last but not least, of course, the General C. Let people know what you've got coming up, brother, and what you've got, what you're streaming next.
I'll be back to streaming probably Friday and Saturday. They're my mainstream days. Any other time throughout the week is random. So yeah, I'll be back streaming some Hunt Showdown on Saturday and continuing Hogwarts on Friday. And you can find me everywhere. The same name that's in my headline here, the General C, THA General C.
This week
I've changed that name everywhere now.
He's the Wizard C this week.
I got rid of the underscores in some of my names on Twitch and Twitter. Now it's more in line with my name on Xbox and PlayStation and Steam. So, yep, it's all sorted now. You can use the same name everywhere to find me, pretty much.
Awesome stuff. And again, once more, thank you to the channel members and the super chats and everything in between. I think I missed a little super chat from Dave Ramos, actually, who sent in a $2 super chat. Apologies, Dave, for that, by the way, because I did miss that one. Even though I seen it pop up, I forgot to read it out. But $2 super chat from Dave, who said, Hogwarts, #Hogwarts. What is your favorite tactic or spell so far? Anybody got an answer to that before we disappear? Favorite? I know Mick hasn't really started. So.
That fire spell, I don't know what it's called. Where you
Incendio.
Yeah.
Incendio.
So there you go.
Yeah.
That fire spell. I love that.
Yep, same here. That's the one I've been using a lot, and it's very satisfying when you can burn spiders to death.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree. That and the Leviosaur, lifting people up and then they're just immobilizing them essentially. That's very handy.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I had it off the bat, though, it would be the Avada Kedavra.
Yeah, yeah. Little bit later in the game, just destroy people.
My son sent me a like a TikTok video thing, and it was it said something like me 5 minutes
10 minutes into
10 minutes,
Hogwarts
10
Legacy.
minutes into
Avada
playing
Kedavra!
Hogwarts, and it's the old woman pushing the trolley down the down the thing. She's like, anything off the trolley, dears? And he's like,
I see the exact same one.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome stuff. But yes, thank you again to the awesome chat and everybody, of course, watching either right now or on demand. If you enjoyed the show or enjoy the show, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, guys, have an awesome night, have an awesome week, and we'll see you all again next time. Goodbye.
take care.
I simply call my name. I freeze, I burn, I blame. I love, I hate the same. It's on my face, I cannot hide from the mistake my parents made. I'm never moving on. Not made from love, a remnant of a selfish motive. Was I needed? Do I need it to go wrong? Polarized inherent pain, pumping through my veins. Eyes in flames, call my name. I freeze, I burn, I blame. I love, I hate the same. If I embrace the side of me, I only fuel the fire. But is it wrong for me to fight against the balance of my power? History in halves, one brain. I will break the chain. Oh no, tokori wa yobu. Moeru rame koru to pop no ai to kirai ni iru. Oh no, tokori wa yobu. Moeru rame koru to pop no ai to kirai ni iru.